In this lecture, I want to show you a model which I called franchained. The reason why I call it this way or I named it in this way is because this is a mix or a hybrid between franchising and chain. So it's a sort of model which I find interesting because I found it out when I was studying the business model of Coca-Cola, or at least like the distribution and market entry strategy of Coca-Cola. And I think it is an interesting model to follow. So what Coca-Cola does, just to give you an idea, we're going to see the example of Coca-Cola here, but just to give you an idea of how this sort of strategy works. You start, the entry strategy of the company is going to start by kicking it off with an ownership and chain model. So it's not like you start in the short term by externalizing the resources, but you internalize as much as possible. So when Coca-Cola starts the operation in a new country, it's going to do that by acquiring the ownership of the subsidiary that is going to really kick off the operations in that country. As Coca-Cola has the really ownership of the subsidiary, has also control on the entry strategy, and it can really help the company to get started on the country by using its economies of scale. So as a scaled company, Coca-Cola can tap into its own resources to get the company going. Once the company is really being established, so the company is going well in the entered market, in the new entered market, then Coca-Cola is going to divest its stakes in the company, or at least just leave a small percentage of equity within the company, and is going to establish a franchise. This franchise, of course, is going to have specific characteristics. Some of those are, for instance, that the franchisee is going to have to buy anything from Coca-Cola, and of course, there is no other option because there is no other manufacturer of the same product. And on the other side, Coca-Cola might also establish or keep a very small percentage of equity in that company to keep more control on the franchisee strategy. This sort of model is interesting again because Coca-Cola started to follow it as a template for market entry strategy since 2006, and it worked out pretty well, where Coca-Cola again goes inside a new country with its what is called BIG, which is Bottling Investment Group, and then the Coca-Cola really establishes a subsidiary within the country, and once the company is established, is going to become an independent bottling company, which is going to retain a sort of relationship as a franchise here. So here the beginning is going to be a owned subsidiary, and then over here is going to become a franchise model in the long term. So I called it again franchained because in the short term to enter the market, Coca-Cola uses an owned model, so to control as much as possible the entry strategy and to actually use the economies of scale of the company to enter the new market. And then over time, this is going to become a franchise model. So over here is going to be owned the company, the bottling company, as they get started the operation in the short term. As operations are kicked off, the company becomes successful. In a few years, Coca-Cola is going to divest, just keep a small equity stake and a franchising relationship with the new independent bottling company that is going to have this sort of relationship with Coca-Cola.